Welcome to Franchise Empires. Well, before we even get to
You
that,
still gonna be tweeting while you're operating?
the JT posted, you posted something on Twitter the other day that I actually ended up throwing in my newsletter. The low performing franchisee who got sold. You know, I'm kind of skimming through your tweet right now. Got sold by a slick FSO. This was a manage the manager model. Ended up, 15 months in that business. Sounds like, I'm not sure what brand you were talking about with this deal, but the business was burning cash, and that manager ended up quitting. So the owner had to either hire another manager, close up the shop, quit his job, and dive in. Is this, obviously this isn't a brick and mortar brand like the story you were telling, but yeah, I guess to piggyback on Drew's question, how do you see this as different? Which I have my own take on why I think it's different, but I'm just curious to see what you're thinking.
So, I mean, look, at face value, you could probably call me a hypocrite, right? But here's where it's different. One, so I do various things. I'm not 100% all into any one of them. With this, I'm going to be pretty hands-on. And I'm going to the owner training. For me, the first year, I'm going to be there every single day, right? Like, I'm going to be going to, and this guy's not the GM. I'm the GM. He's reporting up to me. He's going to be my right-hand man. He's eventually going to get promoted to it. But the difference between me and the guy that I tweeted about is that guy didn't even know the business, because he was sold by some sleazy franchise salesperson that, hey, you buy the business, you hire a GM, we'll help you find that GM, right? They've put an Indeed ad up for them, and they're like, all right, this guy, interview him, might work out. Cool. He kept his job. He kept a full-time job. He didn't have a flexible schedule, and he had to fully rely on this GM to run the business for him.
Yeah.
Yes, he would call him maybe once or twice a day, whatever. But when that guy left, he couldn't just hire another manager because he didn't even know the business.
Oof.
Right? So for him, it was going to be, let me call the franchisor and see if they can train another manager for me, because I don't even know the business. How can that person possibly expect that their business is going to turn out, successful? So the difference with me is everything I do, I have 100% flexibility in, right? If I need to be there for 80 hours and I can't do anything else that week, I can tell everything else I'm doing, hey, I'm busy, I'm flexible, whatever. I can make it work. But if I had a desk job, and I haven't had a desk job like this in years that actually made me report to a desk and sit there and do my job, there's no way I would do it.
Yeah.
There's no way.
The flexibility is the key, right? Like, to where you can improvise or, do a semi-absentee manager run, whatever you want to call it, right? Like, you got to have a lot of flexibility in the day job to be able to pull that off and be willing to step in if it doesn't go as planned.
Now, the people I've seen do this well. So when I talk on Twitter, it's usually I'm speaking to the majority. I'm not talking about the exceptions. But the exceptions that are able to do it have really flexible jobs, right? These are people that are usually I've seen a lot of people in sales where they're making a ton of money doing something sales related. They're like, I'm doing medical device sales or whatever. And they work on their own clock. So they can manage it, right? Semi-absentee doesn't mean, I guess people have different definitions for what it could mean, but you could still work 40 hours in the business and do something else as well, right? You just have to, you have to work more. But if you're capping yourself by 40 hours, I have a 9 to 5, at 5 o'clock, my wife needs me to be home and I can't do anything until the next morning. That's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. Yeah.
What do you think, Drew? Is that your understanding as well?
100%. Yeah. I mean, you get them all the time. Well, it's like, you just get, I think people don't know, right? Number one, like, everybody wants to own a business. It's literally the American dream, right? It's a powerful, emotional thing. But the reality of what it takes, first year is tough of any business. You got to learn it, and it's not going to be, you're not going to be printing money typically from day one. And you got to be prepared for it financially, but then also bandwidth wise, right? Like you got to have enough bandwidth in your personal life to be able to allocate to standing any one of these businesses up. And I think that's where people can interpret it a little bit differently, right? When they're kind of in the heat of the battle during the due diligence and, getting sold a dream and, all the emotions start to get very real. It's just, if you haven't done it before, sometimes you just don't know until you get in the game what it's going to be like.
Yeah. It's
The other thing I'd add, a lot of people when they get into a franchise, they're stretching to get into it to begin with, right? So they say, all right, I'm going to work with a broker. He said, help me find something. I have $100,000 of cash.